A multi-agency task force dealing with post-election violence has scrutinized about 200 complaints touching on sexual atrocities across the country. But getting concrete evidence on rape has not been easy.
Most of the files that we have, people reported 1 year down the line when there was constituted a commission between the ODPP and the police service.
Some of the prosecution's nightmare arise from the fact that most rape victims identified their aggressors based on presumed ethnicity. Some victims of rape blame police of being reluctant to investigate and prosecute some of the officers accused of sexual violence during the chaos. Most complaints on sexual assaults committed by the police were reported in Nairobi. But again, parades to identify offenders are another stumbling block.
You can imagine the difficulty of bringing 1,000 policemen wearing red berets and jungle uniform and asking somebody to identify. That identification would be challenged. And the fact that they cannot identify the aggressors actually does not mean that they were not raped. You could be raped, but you cannot identify the person who raped you. We find that the medical reports are becoming a challenge because they cannot be found.
Odor says her team discovered investigations of sexual crime during the orgy of violence were flawed since they leaned heavily on technicalities and strictures of law.
These are incidents that occurred during mass atrocities. And when we started investigating them and the files were compiled, they were being looked at as if they were specific offenses. And we were strictly applying the elements of those offenses in the Sexual Offences Act, in the Penal Code, using the high level of standard of proof as in the Criminal Procedure Code and the Evidence Act. But that not ought to have been so.
Cases of looting, destruction of property and arson occurred during the mayhem. But eyewitnesses have not come out to testify in some of the cases to facilitate prosecution.
In Eldoret, where we had a lot of arson, housebreaking, these people were reporting after 2 or 3 months when they were in the camps. So policemen did not have an opportunity actually to go to the site and confirm the damages. And in most cases, they were not at the scene.
Once the report is in, and if there is evidence for prosecution, you can rest assured that prosecutions will issue.
The prosecution says all is not lost. It has engaged other criminal justice agencies to review all the cases to ensure that victims of the post-election violence get justice. For KTN, I am Patrick Amimo.